She walked into the glittering VIP party, dressed simply, her hair pulled back in a loose bun. No one paid her any attention. In a sea of sparkling gowns, sharp tuxedos, and flashing cameras, she was just another face, invisible. Some guests even whispered, casting sideways glances and subtle smirks, wondering who had let her in. The security team hovered, unsure whether to escort her out without causing a scene. After all, this was the asterisk party of the year, hosted in a mansion so grand that just an invite was worth bragging about. Among the chatter and clinking glasses, she wandered quietly, smiling politely when ignored and stepping aside when elbowed. Nobody knew her name. Nobody cared to ask. To them, she didn't belong, just another outsider trying to sneak a taste of the glamorous life. As the night buzzed louder, the guests grew bolder. A few even laughed, suggesting she should be shown the door before the real celebrities arrived. But as the clock ticked toward midnight, something changed. A well-known billionaire spotted her across the room. His face dropped. Whispers started to ripple through the crowd like a sudden cold wind. Eyes widened. Conversations froze mid-sentence, because in a place where everyone thought they were somebody, they had all just dismissed the true owner of the mansion. The woman whose name was stitched into every deed, whose wealth made theirs look like pocket change. Panic set in. The same people who had brushed past her now scrambled to get her attention, desperate to undo what had already been done. But by then, it was too late. She had already seen everything she needed to see, and she wasn't about to let it slide. What happened next left everyone speechless. Her name was Elena Carter, a name most people in that room should have recognized. But they were too busy chasing fame to notice the woman who had built an empire while staying out of the spotlight. Elena wasn't the type to flaunt her success with flashy clothes or loud entrances. Her power was quiet, and it was real. Years ago, she had inherited a crumbling estate from her grandparents and turned it into one of the most exclusive venues in the country. Celebrities, politicians, and business tycoons lined up for a chance to host their events there, and tonight was no different. The irony: the host of the evening hadn't even asked for her permission. A popular influencer had rented the space through a long chain of agents and event planners who assumed Elena was just another absent owner. No one expected her to actually show up, let alone mingle with the guests like she was one of them. And when she did, she wasn't wrapped in designer labels or dripping in diamonds. She looked normal. That was their mistake. As she walked slowly across the marble floor, Elena took mental notes. She watched the same people who had judged her appearance now scramble to fix their behavior, offering fake smiles and rushed compliments. But Elena wasn't fooled. She had seen their real faces, and she remembered every one. The music thudded low in the background, a heavy beat that seemed to match the rising tension in the room. Some guests whispered nervously, others tried too hard to make conversation, and a few simply slipped away, hoping to avoid her gaze altogether. But Elena wasn't leaving. Not yet. She had a plan, and by the end of the night, no one would forget whose mansion they were standing in. Elena moved through the crowd like a quiet storm, her calm smile hiding the storm brewing inside her. She spotted Olivia Barnes, the influencer who had promoted this VIP party as if it were her own kingdom. Olivia stood under the grand chandelier, posing for photos, her laughter ringing louder than the music. She hadn't even noticed Elena earlier. To Olivia, this mansion was just a pretty backdrop for her brand deals and social media fame. She had no idea that the woman she ignored was the real reason the cameras had something beautiful to capture. In one corner, Elena noticed a group of business executives who had been loudly bragging about their deals all night. She overheard bits and pieces. Someone even claimed they knew the owner personally, dropping fake names to impress potential clients. Elena almost laughed at the boldness. Every detail of the event screamed entitlement. No one thought twice about whose home they were invading. They only cared about who was watching them do it. Meanwhile, the staff, the servers, the bartenders, the cleaners, they noticed her. They always did. Elena caught small glances of recognition from the people who truly kept the mansion running. Unlike the guests, they knew her story. Some even gave her small nods of respect, careful not to draw attention. It was a sharp contrast to the glittering crowd, too busy chasing clout to see the truth right in front of them. As the night wore on, whispers kept spreading like wildfire. Guests started asking, "Who is she?" in hushed, nervous tones. Rumors twisted quickly. Some said she was a secret billionaire. Others guessed she was a famous heiress hiding in plain sight. No one knew for sure, and Elena was in no rush to correct them. She had something much bigger planned for them, something that would change everything before the night ended. Elena slowly made her way toward the heart of the party, where Olivia was gathering a crowd for what she called the highlight of the night. With a champagne glass raised high, Olivia prepared to make a big announcement, her voice filled with pride. She boasted about how exclusive the event was, how much effort it took to find such a hidden gem of a mansion. The guests cheered, none of them realizing the real story that was about to unfold. From the edges of the room, a few of the staff members exchanged glances. They could feel it too. Something was about to happen. Elena paused at the base of the grand staircase, her hands loosely folded, her eyes calm but sharp. She wasn't going to shout or cause a scene. That would be too easy. Instead, she had arranged something much more unforgettable. Earlier that day, Elena had made a few quiet phone calls. She had spoken with her legal team, her security staff, and her personal assistants. Papers had been signed, arrangements made. No one at the party knew it yet, but the entire event had been placed under Elena's full control. Every moment that ticked by was another step toward the surprise she had carefully planned. Olivia raised her voice, calling attention to herself once again. "Let's toast to new beginnings," she shouted, flashing a perfect smile at the cameras. Elena smiled too, but for a different reason. A quiet buzz started near the entrance, where a few serious-looking individuals in dark suits had just arrived. Guests turned, whispering, sensing that something wasn't right. The mansion itself seemed to hold its breath. The laughter grew nervous, the music dipped lower, and the flashing lights suddenly felt harsh. Every eye slowly turned toward Elena, standing alone but completely unshaken. Something big was coming, and no one in that glittering crowd was ready for it. The men in dark suits didn't head for Olivia, as many expected. Instead, they moved through the crowd with quiet purpose, stopping directly in front of Elena. For a brief moment, confusion flickered across the guests' faces. Why would security approach her, the woman they had so easily dismissed earlier? Then, one of the men leaned in and whispered something into Elena's ear. She nodded calmly, handing him a small, folded document from her clutch. It was the final piece of the puzzle, and it was about to change everything. At that exact moment, the mansion's giant screens, which had been looping glamorous party footage all night, suddenly switched. The room darkened slightly. A new video began to play, but it wasn't a promotional clip or a brand sponsorship. It was a personal message from Elena herself. The guests gasped, frozen in place, as her voice echoed through the grand hall. She spoke softly but clearly, introducing herself not just as the owner of the mansion, but as the founder of the luxury brand that had made half of the people in the room famous by association. Shock rippled through the party like a tidal wave. Olivia's face turned pale, her champagne glass trembling slightly in her hand. It was clear now, they hadn't just insulted a wealthy woman. They had insulted the very person who controlled the spaces and opportunities they so desperately chased. But just when the tension seemed unbearable, Elena added another layer. Her voice on the screen revealed that tonight's event had been recorded. Every conversation, every careless insult, every shallow brag, captured as part of a hidden documentary project about entitlement and true success. The walls seemed to close in as realization sank deep into the crowd. No one could move, no one could speak, and Elena wasn't finished yet. As the final seconds of the video played, the room sat in stunned silence. Elena stood beneath the chandelier, the very center of attention now, But not because of the dress she wore or the guests she knew. It was because she had turned the entire evening upside down without raising her voice once. Olivia stumbled forward, trying to laugh it off, reaching for Elena's hand with a shaky smile. "It's all a misunderstanding," she stammered, her voice cracking under the weight of the truth. Elena simply tilted her head slightly, studying her. "Was it?" she asked softly, her words cutting sharper than any loud accusation could have. Around them, guests who had spent the evening flaunting their importance now avoided Elena's eyes, suddenly realizing their titles and money meant nothing here. The quiet respect from the staff, the recognition from those who truly knew the value of kindness, loyalty, and humility, that was the real currency in this house. Then, Elena lifted a small remote from her pocket and clicked a button. Another announcement echoed through the hall. The mansion was no longer available for public events. Every future booking, every flashy party and brand deal lined up by agents and influencers was instantly cancelled. The guests weren't just embarrassed, many were panicking. Careers had been built around the access Elena's mansion symbolized, and now it was gone with a single decision. As people scrambled to save face, Elena made her way toward the doors. But just before she stepped outside, she paused and turned back. "By the way," she called out, her voice steady and clear, "the real party starts tomorrow. Invitation only." A final, knowing smile touched her lips, because this time it would be the ones who had been overlooked, underestimated, and dismissed who would be celebrated. And this crowd, they weren't on the guest list. The heavy doors of the mansion closed behind Elena with a soft thud, leaving the stunned guests inside to stew in their own regret. Outside, under the glow of the garden lights, the real celebration was quietly being prepared. Tables were set not for influencers or executives, but for the people who had helped Elena build her empire: old friends, loyal staff members, local artists, and young entrepreneurs she had mentored along the way. This was the heart of the life Elena had created, a life not built on flash and fame, but on real connections and true respect. News of what happened at the party spread quickly. Articles titled things like "VIP Party Disaster" and "Influencers Snub Mansion Owner" flooded social media. Olivia and others scrambled to control the damage, but the internet was ruthless. Clips from the night surfaced, showing how guests had dismissed Elena without a second thought. Ironically, the ones who had spent the evening chasing attention had gotten it, just not the kind they wanted. Meanwhile, Elena's quiet power only grew stronger. Brands, journalists, and even celebrities reached out, eager to align themselves with someone who clearly valued authenticity over appearance. But Elena remained selective, sticking to her original vision. Her mansion would no longer be a place for shallow fame. It would be a haven for creativity, generosity, and real success stories. The next day, as the new guests arrived, laughter and music filled the mansion once again. But this time, it felt different. It was genuine. No flashing cameras, no staged photos, no fake smiles. Just real people, celebrating real achievements. Elena watched from the balcony, smiling to herself. She had built her world on her own terms. And now, everyone finally knew exactly whose mansion it truly was.